My dear brothers and sisters, I wish to welcome you to the second Sunday of Easter. Today is the Divine Mercy Sunday. I'd like to invite us to reflect with me in this short but long reflection. God is love. God is love, and God cannot not love because love is the nature of God. And mercy, in the words of Pope Francis, is also the nature of God because mercy is a demonstration of the love of God. And this mercy endures forever. The love of God endures forever because God is immutable. God is unchangeable. So that love is always there. He will always be faithful because his faithfulness endures forever. As human beings, we may fail. As human beings, we may disobey. As human beings, we may become disloyal. But God is always loving, always faithful, always merciful. God is always loyal. He loves always. Eternally, he loves. So, dear brothers and sisters, the risen Christ in the gospel today comes to us. He comes to his apostles. He comes to his disciples. He comes to you. He comes to me. Not to revenge, but to rejuvenate. Not to retaliate, but to elevate. Not to kill, but to build. Not to destroy, but to uplift and to build up. Remember, in John chapter 19, when Jesus was crying on the cross, his disciples practically abandoned him. It was only John, Mary, our mother, and some other women, but the disciples actually abandoned him. Jesus did not come back to revenge. Rather, he came back to show mercy. And that's why, as he entered in their midst today, the first thing he said is, "Peace be with you." This is not just any kind of greeting like shalom, like this is, my presence is with you. That's what it means. My presence is with you. The peace that Jesus talks about today, dear brothers and sisters, is not just normal shalom greetings, among the Jews, but it is the comfort for those who are in pains. It is the confidence for those who are, living in fear. It is the success of those who are living in failures. It is the health of the sick. It is that antidote we need in times of our distress. It is abundance of life for those who are sick. It is the healing and health for those who are sick. It simply means, in a nutshell, the presence of Christ in our lives, comforting us, consoling us, empowering us, and strengthening us. My dear friends in Christ, the unbelief and the fear of the apostles and disciples, their timidity, as we see in the gospel passage today, because they locked up the door. They locked up the door, which means that at this moment, they did not even believe that Jesus is God. That could have irritated Jesus, but it did not irritate Jesus. When you are trying all your best, Jesus taught them. He explained things to them. He performed many miracles before them. Yet, until this time, they were still having this unbelief. They were still in the bondage of fear. They were still paralyzed by their guilt and shame and all that for abandoning their Messiah, abandoning their Master. But Jesus shows mercy by coming back to them. When people reject you, when people discriminate against you, when people, abandon you, it's really difficult to come back to such persons. I'm sure you've heard people say, "I prefer to go to places where I am appreciated than the places where I am tolerated." But Jesus came back. He came back even though that his disciples disappointed him, but he still came back to them. Why? Because of his mercy. He taught them everything. He showed them everything. Yet, until this moment, they did not still believe that he is God and he has absolute dominion, power, authority. Jesus actually told them many times that he will die and he will rise again. Look at Luke chapter 9. where Jesus personally took Peter, James, and John to the mountain of transfiguration. He revealed his glory to them, yet they did not believe. It's very painful, yet because of his mercy, he came back. And when he came back, he stood in their midst. No rejection, but mercy. Jesus wouldn't have been standing in their midst if he did not forgive them. Because of his mercy, even though these people rejected him, they abandoned him, but he forgave them. And he forgives us. He stands in our midst. Check your heart. Jesus is in the midst of you. Jesus is in your heart. His patience in showing his pierced body. These are the same people who abandoned him. But when he came today, he showed his pierced body. That is mercy. That is mercy. That two wrongs does not make one right. I send you. I send you. As the Father has sent me, I send you. The same people who abandoned him, the same people who ran away from him, the same people who walked away from him when he needed them, the same people he is giving a mandate. You see, God does not care about the sins we have committed before now, but God cares about our decision to begin a new life. Jesus focuses on our strength and our potentials, not on our pasts, not on our shortcomings, not on our weaknesses, not on our limitations. Yeah, they failed him, but because he's merciful, what he sees is not their failure, but he sees their potentials. The same thing that God sees in you and in me because of his mercy. The gift of the sacrament of penance. Jesus today gives us this gift of the sacrament of confession because he knows that we are weak, but because of his compassion, because of his mercy, he wants us to be purified every time we make mistakes. He wants us to come back to him because his mercy endures forever. And not just that he gave us the sacrament of penance, but he made his weak disciples, he made the weak person like me a minister of this sacrament. Imagine that. I am a sinner, yet I'm a priest. And God uses me to bring healing, to bring mercy, to bring forgiveness to his people in the confessional. Isn't that wonderful? Isn't that a practical example of mercy? We are instruments of mercy. Look at the second chance that Jesus gave to Thomas. When Jesus came the first time, Thomas was not there. It was not the fault of Jesus that Thomas was not there. Yet, Jesus came back again. Why did he come back again? Because he wanted Thomas to experience the risen Christ. Giving people second chance is dangerous, but this is what makes us Christians. Being a Christian involves a lot of risk. But Jesus teaches us what mercy means, that he came back again just to make sure that Thomas experiences him. Second chance. Can you give your wife second chance? Can you give your friend second chance? Can you give your husband second chance? Can you give your parents, your children second chances? Unlimited chances? It may be difficult, but this is what makes us Christians. So dear friends in Christ, if you look at the first reading from the Acts of the Apostles and the second reading from the letter of St. John, you will agree with me that we have to live out our mercy. Not just by believing. The early Christians did not just show mercy by believing and by praying, but by doing. By doing. It's not just that I'm a Christian, but you show mercy. Look at the first reading. Nobody lived, in want. Nobody lived without his or her needs being met. Because those who had sold what they had and they brought it to the apostles, and everyone was okay. Self-abandonment is one thing I see in the first reading. Self-abandonment, these people who sold their possessions and brought the proceeds to the apostles, they personally abandoned themselves to the divine mercy because they trusted in the divine mercy that God will never abandon them. You can never be poor because of your generosity to God. No. Solidarity is what I see. And solidarity is born from mercy. I show solidarity to you because I feel mercy, I feel pity, I am compassionate. Solidarity is a function of mercy. And this is the solidarity we see in the first reading today, that the poor were accommodated. Look at the second reading also. St. John gives us 3 ways we should show that we are children of God, that we are begotten children of God. By loving God, which is reverence, vertical. By loving our neighbors, which is horizontal, which is respect. When I give something to the poor, it's a respect to that person because that person is also a human being, an image of God. And the third way is to remain obedient to God. How can we remain obedient to God? To be loyal to God, to do the will of God. What is the will of God? To love Him and to love our neighbors. That is mercy. So as we celebrate this divine mercy, let us remember that Jesus sends us today to become instruments of mercy. Be the agent of mercy in your life. Be the agent of mercy in your family, in your relationship, in your community, everywhere and anywhere you go. Be the instrument of divine mercy. Let people feel the mercy of God through the way you speak to them. Let people feel the mercy of God through the way you act towards them. I will tell God about you.